Welcome to Off the Post, brought to you by Coverall Exteriors. I'm Russ Cohen. We have Anthony Mingione. Ant, how are you?
Doing fine on this lovely Wednesday morning. How are you, Russell?
I'm doing good. And Michael Jello, are you surviving the premiere of Hard Knocks?
What?
Hard Knocks, your Buffalo Bills.
Sorry, Russ. I'm a member of the
Pays no mind.
I don't watch that stuff.
I know. Being a Bills fan is the life of Hard Knocks. I get it. And then we have special guest Jeff Marek.
Hello.
How are you, Jeff?
I'm doing well. You know what I was always taught in television? This goes back decades upon decades, and this is a compliment to you, Russ. When you want to make someone look smarter than they actually are, put books behind them. I respect the fact that, Russ, you are confident enough in your own intelligence that unlike me, Anthony, and Michael, we don't feel the need, this insecure need to put books behind us when we're on a screen. So good for you, Russ.
I do have some in the upper echelon there. But
and I have guitars to make me look cool.
Make you look cool. I was always told there was two things if you want to make someone look smarter than they actually are on television. One, put books behind them, and two, put glasses on them. Sorry, Mike.
Look, this
Mike,
will make me look dumber. This is my day with an alligator.
It's behind them.
We just took a family vacation to Mexico and Cancun, and the boys ended up golfing for 3 days, and they saw their first alligators on the course.
Oh,
we saw
cool.
three gators, and they were kind of a little bit freaked out about it. But I thought it was really cool.
I was petting that gator. It was kind of
running for the golf cart anyway.
All right.
Yeah, exactly.
So let's start in. I'm going to look into the future and ask you, Jeff, with this new 84-game schedule that's on the horizon, who's it going to impact the most? I think it's going to be goalies. I think teams may have to start with having actually 3 goalies. What do you think?
I think it impacts goaltenders. Although, I mean, the days of I'm playing 72 games or 75 games are long in the rearview mirror.
Right.
And I think I think one of the byproducts to that, Russ, for maybe a bigger conversation, given how the schedule is going to lengthen and goaltenders, starts in a season is going to shorten. I think it's going to be tougher and tougher for goalies to win the Hart Trophy, just based on games played. People won't look at the fact that they're actually on the ice for the full 60. They'll look at games played and say, they have the Vezina. But nonetheless, I digress. I think it's going to impact stars because I think that you need to look at it, Russ, as an entire package of what this new CBA is offering. And let's not forget here now, finally, and these discussions, as you guys well remember, go back to the lockout of 2005, we will finally have a consistent, robust international schedule. And that is going to place a huge burden on, I think, the one area of player that's going to really be impacted here, and that's the stars. There's going to be more hockey than ever for the superstars in this game.
I was impacted in 2005, Jeff. I was doing cosmetic sets in a supermarket. I would just put on these headphones and walk in and do a cosmetic set, everywhere. I was even in like Freehold, New Jersey, where they told me, hey, we give Bruce Springsteen like cases of his favorite hot sauce. I had to do that instead of hockey. Like that was my hockey revenue dried up.
Yeah. Listen, and you know what? It wasn't just players, whose careers were ended by that lockout, and some pretty substantial players as well. But a lot of people in media, a lot of arena staff, there were a lot of sort of quietly impacted people during that time. Now, like I was lucky, and Mike knows this because he used to call our shows all the time. I got to do I convinced them somehow that we'd be able to make hockey and this lockout relevant. And I was able to do a 2-hour show every day with Bill Waters, the old assistant GM of the Toronto Maple Leafs. So, I count myself as one of the very lucky ones through all of that. But I do respect and tip my cap to everyone else who still wanted to stay in hockey and wanted to make this their career, but were severely impacted by that disastrous lockout. Absolutely.
And believe me, the creative booking that happened on 640 with all the Slapshot episodes, Motto and all those guys, it was fantastic. I loved listening.
Man, we gimmicked that thing up like it was a tables, ladders, and chairs match. Like seriously, Mike. Like there were some shows like Waters and I would walk away and we go like, we just felt like we robbed the bank and didn't have to wear a mask. Like we're really like our paychecks are going to show up and someone's going to yell "Stop thief!" Like we really did a show like that. But I guess again, people are just starved to talk about. And you guys know it. It's like your show's running through the summer. Even though there isn't any NHL or any substantial hockey going right now, people still want to talk about it. They still want to have those conversations, and those conversations can still be relevant. But man, we got every chew out of that stick of gum, I'll tell you, back in 04, 05. That's that was interesting.
That was a year. I mean, I was exclusively covering the AHL that year with the Phantoms. And that was
great year. And that was like one of the best AHL teams ever, too.
Ever,
right, Anthony?
Oh God, yeah. That when you got, it was already a good squad, and then you added Carter and Richards to the mix.
What was the final? Was it Philadelphia, Chicago?
It was against the Wolves, yeah. Okay. And they absolutely, and that was a series I still remember going, the Wolves, they're probably the favorite, and they just. The Phantoms just absolutely just destroyed them in that series.
And the hunger for hockey fans. I mean, Jeff knows this because he led a group of Toronto fans down the QEW to Buffalo, where the St. John's Maple Leafs played the Rochester Amherst sorry, go ahead.
No, finish your story because I got a sidebar to this. I don't know if I've talked about this before.
And wasn't that when they had the blue ice and the Larry Quinn?
Oh, here we go.
So, but here's what I want to point out to that. You guys have heard me bloviate on about coloring the ice and all. I won't bore your audience with that anymore. I'll wait till the regular season starts to bore people with that one.
Yeah, not Boise. We don't need this. Boise likes it.
We're going to go Coastal Carolina.
But you know why that was? It's by Dave Andrews, the old president and CEO of the American Hockey League. We're having a conversation with that years later. He said, "You know what? That was really lucrative for the American Hockey League." And I said, "How was it lucrative for the American Hockey League?" And he said, "Rochester never got any permission to do that." He said, "We fined them. They had to pay the American Hockey League like $100,000. They just went and did it."
Wow.
And we sort of knocked on Rochester's door and said, you didn't get any special dispensation to color the changes of the ice, and this contravenes this bylaw, blah, 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 blah. And I think it was like $100,000.
Yikes. That's not an unsubstantial fine for an AHL team.
Thanks, Larry Quinn. Thanks for the money, Larry.
Wow. I wonder where those nets are. Transitioning, Jeff, to a more serious subject in the city of Buffalo, which is the state of the Buffalo Sabres. We had Chris Johnston on last month, and he basically said that the state of the Sabres is beginning to be a concern at the league level. He didn't specify exactly what that meant, but I can just imagine the NHL seeing what I consider a signature franchise, 1970 expansion, made this playoffs a number of times, French Connection, Dominic Hasek, the history, and a fan base that is starving for a winner. And I know, you grew up in the Toronto area, you watched Buffalo Sabres games with Ted Darling and listened to Rick Jeanneret, and so did I.
Pete Weber.
Can't forget Pete.
And the thing is, 14 years of this team being pretty much a joke for most of that period. It's getting to the point now where it's bridged from anger to apathy, and that's why I think the NHL is worried.
So I've always maintained that you're not in trouble when fans don't buy tickets. There's one thing worse, and that is when fans buy tickets and choose not to go. That's when you're really, really that's when you're really in trouble. As far as the league being concerned about the Buffalo Sabres and that market, they should. Traditionally, that has been one of the best capital H hockey markets in the NHL, and I mean, you guys understand why. Like this is a market where the fans aren't just fans of the Buffalo Sabres. Like there are some markets where they're just fans of that team, and that's it. Like their universe revolves around that team, and all they want to hear are sounds about that team. Not so with Buffalo. When you always looked at TV ratings, of course, the home market's going to come in big, the visiting market's going to come in big, and then always as a strong third was Buffalo.
Yep.
I've always maintained there are great capital H hockey fans in Buffalo, and it's tough for the NHL to sell parity when there's a team that hasn't made the playoffs in 14 years. And there's this team. Look, we could go here. This is so bad. We could go here with an organization not making the playoffs, from the death of the Atlanta Thrashers to the rise of another expansion team in Atlanta.
Mm-hmm.
Let the gravity of that sink in here for a second. And the other thing that people have reminded me about whenever I've asked about the idea of a second team in Toronto, and that, I've always been reminded that, the harm won't necessarily be done to the Toronto Maple Leafs. The harm will be done to Buffalo. Mm-hmm. And that's a great market that the NHL wants to work. I always, like, you guys have heard me say it every single year at the beginning of the season. I don't really cheer for teams. I don't care. Cheer for players. I cheer for good games, all these types of things. But I just want Buffalo to be good. For a lot of those reasons that you just outlined too. Like, again, like, this is like, sports is that middle ground between what your head thinks and your heart believes. And my heart keeps going back to the French Connection and Danny Gare and Donnie Edwards and Bob Sauve and King Kong Korab and Larry Playfair. Like, that's where my heart goes. And it breaks for fans of the Buffalo Sabres, who deserve a lot better than they're getting. And I do wonder, if things go south this season, at what point some more awkward decisions or tough decisions will have to be made.
Quick follow-up. So what do you think, Lindy Ruff last year of his contract, Kevin Adams last year of his contract, how bad does it have to get before Terry Pegula decides?
Jarmo Kekalainen is there.
Yeah.
And I think we all understand, at least optically, why. Like, if you need, like, I like, there sometimes they're when someone's on their sort of like on the thinnest part of their rope, hanging on to their job, sometimes in a contract extension, or there'll be an understanding that, okay, we'll let you keep your job, but there are various touch points along the way. If you're not in the playoffs by this date, that's it. And I don't know whether that's true of Kevin Adams. I don't. But I do wonder, considering the obvious replacement is right there, if there is a sort of understanding that, as much as we thought it might have been last season, maybe this is the season that if things go wrong for the Buffalo Sabres, and I do think that they are, even without JJ Peterka, I still do think they are a better team than they were last season. Sorry, a more balanced team this year than they were last season. If things go awry, and it's going to be tough, because if they're going to make the playoffs, tell me who's going to drop out. I do wonder if this is the season where Terry Pegula finally makes a couple of difficult decisions here.
I have a Sabres sidebar that I've not said
sure.
on the show, but I was in Philly one day in Mitchell and Ness. The owner was in there. We were talking hockey. And I said, do you have any French Connection jerseys? This is after like a long conversation, getting past Rangers and other players. And he goes, no, because we haven't been able to broker a deal. And I'm like, I just interviewed Rene Robert. He's a good guy. Let me call him. I called him, and Rene said, if everybody gets the same money, because, they had to pay everybody singularly for Mitchell Ness, we'll do it. And they did it. Like, I brokered the deal for the French Connection jerseys to come back for Mitchell and Ness, the classic.
Now Russ he needs to broker the deal for Jocelyn Gaverman next.
And that owner, by the way, that Mitchell and Ness owner has retired, so I have no anymore. But it was a moment in time where I brokered the deal for the French Connection.
You should write a book, Russ. I just had to say it. Sorry, I had to say it.
By the way, seriously, Jeff, for a guy who's an author, who's written books, the fact that he doesn't have books behind him.
That's the thing about Russ. Like, of all of us, like, he's the he's the most distinguished writer amongst all of us here.
For sure.
There you go. I got that one too. Russ gave it to me in Buffalo.
There we go. Jeff, I want to get your take. Obviously, it's been an interesting summer in Philadelphia in terms of a lot of the changeover that's happened between coaching to Rick Tocchet and some of the additions that Danny Briere has made as well. In many ways, I look at this. I just finished up a forwards review series for Hockey Hot Stove. And to me, the Flyers read like a puzzle box right now, basically figuring out, because there's certain assumptions I think that some people in the fan base assume that Trevor Ziggos is going to be a top 6 center for the team. You're going to put Ziggos on a line with Michkov. But then you add to the mix Christian Dvorak, who's making $5.4 on a 1-year deal. You also have Noah Cates, who just signed a 4-year extension. He could fit just about anywhere in the lineup. And a big, obviously, he's a glue guy, obviously, I think, for the Flyer lineup. How do you see sort of this Flyer lineup to me? Because to me, again, it's Tocchet's got to like he's going to be a lot of experimentation. I think that's going to happen this season.
I'll tell you, Anthony, when Briere made the move for Trevor Ziggos, you know who I first thought of? I first thought of John Tortorella and Rocky Thompson, because for how long were they looking for a shooter on the power play?
Mm-hmm.
Right, looking for that exact guy that now Rick Tocchet has. And I mean, listen, like Anthony, you're a lot closer to it than I am, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
I am of the mind that as much as people look at Trevor Ziggos and say, oh, he would never work with John Tortorella, I completely disagree. And I look at someone like Trevor Ziggos and say, like, that is like one of the ideal guys that John Tortorella would love to sort of get his hands on and work with. And right away, he'd be in that one-timer position on the power play, or that shooter's position on the power play. They tried it with Michkov a number of times. So I think right away, Tocchet gets, like, the power play will be better just by the presence of Trevor Ziggos. I'll tell you the one name, and maybe it's going to be a tap-in because of the Tyson Forster injury, but Alex Bump make this team out of camp?
I think he is. I actually do, because I think
I'm with you.
I think he makes the team. He has the size, he has the skill set. They need offense. They need an offensive generator, and I think that Bump can be. I mean, there's things that have to be worked on probably, but I think especially it's the left side. He's a left winger, and I feel like Philly's loaded on they're good on the right. Center, they're in an experimentation stage. Left wing, there's wide. I feel like it's wide open for him.
Yeah, I agree. The one player that I do wonder. Listen, we all know the acrimony between the player and the ex-coach with this guy, and you guys know where I'm going here. I wonder how Rick Tocchet can get to Cam York here, and maybe to a lesser extent, and maybe in a minor key, Jamie Drysdale as well. Although half the season he was pretty good last year. But I do wonder about Cam York. If you look at like who's going to get the new coach bump, pardon the pun, just talk about Alex Bump. Who's going to get the new coach bump? I do wonder about Cam York here. If he's the one player.
Yeah, York has to get his shot on net. If he doesn't, he's not going to get the bump.
But they've made they've made the long-term commitment to him. They've made the long-term commitment. So it's something that, and York, for the most part, based on limited conversations I have with Tocchet, it seemed pretty positive. I think he's kind of envisioning in his head, hey, maybe he can use me like a Quinn Hughes, like he used the Quinn Hughes.
Yep.
So I think everybody right now is going in positively on this, and we'll see how things go as the season wears on.
And they need some saves, Anthony, as you know. And is Dan Vladar the guy?
It's going to be up. It's one of those things, right? We're going to see. It's another experiment, but again, Bjarnason's needs a year, at least a year or two in the AHL. This is where they're going right now for sure. In goal between him and Sam Ersson, it's an open.
Are you of the mind? I've always been of this mind, specifically with Philadelphia, and the goalie story saga goes all the way back to Pelle Lindbergh. That this is a team that every year should at least draft one goaltender.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
On average, yes. It was interesting that this draft they did not. I thought potentially that a Ravensburger might figure into the picture there.
Wanted to go there, like he really
and there was a few others, but they decided this again. This was a draft where they were like, we're looking at our system. There's not enough sizable physical players that we need to build around Michkov over the long term. So I have nothing against the draft, but again, it was noticed that the goaltending situation was such that they were like, nope, we're not drafting one this year.
Can I throw one other name for Philadelphia here? And again, like this isn't like not a huge name, but I mean, you know what it's like. Seasons are long, and guys filling in and providing like really good depth play for a team. I can't help but thinking that, again, 82 games, long injuries, everything, that I really do wonder how, Lane Peterson could be a valuable player for the Philadelphia Flyers. He's really well thought of within the organization too. And again, like we're not talking about a headline maker here. Like we're talking about like a middle to bottom of the lineup guy. But I just wonder about how valuable a guy like Lane Peterson could be.
I think he's one of those
throughout
players,
the season.
Yeah, I think he's one of those players that I think if there's injuries and things of that sort, or long trips, things of that sort, Peterson could put, good AHL performance could see. They also have Rodrigo Abels as well. I think it's probably a toss up between the two of them as to who would probably fill in that spot. Because Abel's bigger, a little more of a physical forward in this case, whereas Peterson. But I could see it. I could see him definitely getting ice time with the Flyers at some point this year.
Just want to give him some love. That's all. I love my fill-in guys. I love my the tweeners. I love those guys. So Lane Peterson for Philadelphia.
For sure.
Jeff, we know that on the sheet and on all the shows on Daily Faceoff, and our friend Steve Dangle and a number of other podcasts have analyzed ad nauseum the Toronto Maple Leafs offseason in the wake of Mitch Marner departing, and
Oh no, there's more room. There's still more room. No, still more room for sounds, noise.
Well, but the thing is here, and I agree with it. Of course, they're not a better team than they were with Marner, but I think they're a different team, and that might mean more success when it counts. Now, the thing is that they have not filled that top 6 gap. There's still talk about Roslovic. I don't know if that works. They probably have to trade some bodies out. I don't know if he's the answer. My assertion here is they're going to go into the season with maybe Max Domi playing on the right side on that top line, and then see how things work, and then maybe at the deadline with the cap space that they still have, go after a forward. I think that's the plan, rather than go out and spend money on Roslovic when they don't know if that's going to work or not.
Totally agree. Totally agree. Like if you could get like the deal of a lifetime with Roslovic, I think absolutely you look at it. But again, like he's someone you don't have to give up assets for, obviously. I'm with you. I think if you're Brad Treliving right now, unless something falls into your lap that you can't refuse, go into camp, see what you have in Easton Cowan. I think regardless, Easton Cowan does need time in the American Hockey League. I think we're all on the same page about that. But is it like a Cal Ritchie situation with the Islanders where, like, you know what, the plan is to play him until Christmas in the AHL, see where we're at, and then maybe call him up and we have a decision. Right? Who knows? But I don't. And again, like, you want to have room to accrue cap space along the way throughout the season. So I think if you're Brad Treliving, you say, like, okay, so we've done a lot of heavy lifting already. Now let's see what we have, and we'll see what comes out of training camp. I know Maple Leafs fans don't want to hear that because they want activity and action all the time, and feed the conversation.
They just got the Nick Robertson arbitration.
They got the Nick Robertson deal.
They didn't have that news.
And I have to walk into that room. They have to walk into that room.
I would be all for giving Nick Robertson more of an elevated place in the lineup. The guy can shoot. His injury issues seem to be the thing of the past. Give him a chance.
I'm with you. I'm with you on Nick Robertson. Like, what's the hardest thing to do in the NHL, guys?
Score.
Find a spot and score.
Get to it. Yeah, that's a really good point too. Get to a spot and score. And I'm with you on, and it's always better, as you guys well know, if you can solve your problems internally and don't have to go shopping. You don't have to go shopping for them. So if you're the Maple Leafs, mind that we'll see what training camp brings, and we'll have our first audit after 20 games, and we'll see where we're at, and we'll see where Easton Cowan is at that point. But I would be in no hurry. But the scenario you lay out, Mike, makes a lot of sense to me.
Hey, listen, Jeff, thanks for coming on. We really appreciate it. Everybody should watch the sheet or listen to it or anything, because Jeff knows his stuff.
I have you fooled, and you read that exactly as I wrote it. Thank you, Russ. By the way, Matthew.
On my hand.
Matthew Darsh on the show today, along with Jordan Schmaltz.
There you go.
Looking forward to it.
Thanks, boys.
Thanks, Jeff. Thanks for coming on.
Books behind you. Make you smarter. Glasses too.
All right. So to finish out the show, we're going to have a little discussion topic. Connor McDavid. There's some stuff slipping out about it. Stan Bowman's like he's encouraged by the early going stuff. Yeah, whatever. That's boilerplate. And then you have Jay Rosehill, who's like, I don't know what the headspace is for Connor McDavid. So, it's interesting because I would have thought by now they would have gotten it done. And so that's why we're talking about it, because, we're about a month after we talked about it the first time and it's not done yet. So what do you think?
I'll say this. I bet you if it is going to get done, they want to get it done when everybody's starting to pay attention again closer to training camp. It's one of those things that I think can start things off on a good foot for the Oilers for the new season and defend, and keeps that. And there's something to be said for that strategically, I think, to get that kind of energy to know, hey, the captain's on board. Everybody else is now going to buy in behind him.
Good point.
So I think it can happen, and I think it's just a case where it's NHL Midsummer, and there's probably a lot of complicated elements to the deal, I'm sure, in some aspects, and that's stuff that can be hammered out over time. But I think that if I'm wrong, I'm wrong.
Well, no, I don't think you're wrong, but I not that I'm following like Connor McDavid on Instagram or buy into a bunch of like sort of the surreptitious stuff. But apparently Leon Draisaitl is getting married in France, and the wedding is this month or in the next week or so. It may have already even happened, and McDavid is in France at the wedding. So I don't think he's going to sign an extension.
I think you have to look for a reason to go to France.
Yeah, geez, shop in. Drag me kicking and screaming.
Destination wedding.
But the thing is, I do think that the more time that goes by, I don't think it's a Tavares situation where, you know, he's in complete control of the situation. The interesting thing is, I think he's going to sign a deal with Edmonton. But my theory is, if it's 5 years, then I think Edmonton should thank their lucky stars. If it's 2 or 3 years, because he's going to be the one to decide. It's not like they're going to say, no, we don't want 2 or 3 years. Of course they want 2 or 3. They want as many years as they can get. But if he's saying 2 or 3 years, Russ, that means at 31, he wants to go someplace else if they haven't won a cup yet.
I think it'll be 3, and then we'll all be talking about Toronto, and Tavares will be out of Toronto, and it'll sort of make sense. I mean, although, to be fair, Wayne Gretzky always wanted to play for Toronto and didn't. So you never know.
Well, that was Steve Stavros' problem, because he was cheap at that point and didn't want to spend the money.
Right. But it just didn't happen, right?
Yeah, so Cliff Fletcher had a deal with Gretzky, and the ownership said they wouldn't sign off on it.
Yeah. So this is the next phase of that. And yeah, we'll see. It'll be
say I lean closer to him staying.
No, me too, but not for long.
Going.
Not a long-term deal.
No,
you still want to have control over that, absolutely. But I think at the very least, within this current team's window of opportunity, and to extend that window in a manner that works for the Oilers.
Because barring, God forbid, barring a serious injury, who is not going to pay Connor McDavid close to 20% in 3 years when the cap is up at $120 million?
Yeah, listen, I think he's going to want money for a kitchen remodel so he can get rid of the black and get more earthy tones.
He's just going to sell that.
No, that's what you. It's what you want to see.
That's what most of the world would do. Who has a black kitchen? Come on.
Listen, he does.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, that's it. That's it for Off the Post. We'll catch everybody next time.
Take care, everybody.